I would love to say that my containers this spring have been lovely, growing like gangbusters, just spilling out of their containers. That's not been happening. Not seeing a ton of growth in these containers. I think it's because we've just had such cool mornings. We're in the 40s right now, and it's June 2nd. Coleus, zinnia, not a ton of growth there. I think those really thrive with the heat. Creeping Jenny, not a lot of growth with that. Another Coleus. The bachelor button, though, absolutely loves these conditions. We've had a lot of rain. We've had colder temperatures. This morning, June 2nd, it was in the 40s. Upper 40s, but still, it has just been kind of unseasonably cool. Because these containers are so slow with their growth, I'm busting out the big guns. I'm just going to use some plant food. I just fill up the recommended amount. Your standard milk jug will do. This is one of my containers out in the front that's just been kind of slow growing. I've got some Coleus in here. I've also got some zinnia, which have been really, really slow. I've not had great luck with zinnia, which is kind of disappointing. I feel like that deserves a video all on its own. I've got some what used to be Cuban oregano that has not come back. I'm not holding out hope that that will happen, which is a bummer because it's just got a great smell. It's a great spiller as well in a container like this. I've got some creeping Jenny that's just doing fine. It doesn't really need plant food. Of course, bachelor button speaks for itself. Lemongrass has not come back. I don't think it's going to come back. And then I have, what else do I have in here? What is this? This is the sea holly, Orangium. So I've got some plant starts in here. Some I grew from seed, like the zinnia and the Orangium and the bachelor button from seed in January. But I'm just going to take my fertilizer right now and just kind of spread it all over. And we'll see. I mean, some of this stuff doesn't really need the plant food. This is also hopefully, if any of my perennials are going to come back that are in here, this will give them the jump that they need to do that. So I'm just going to put about half in this one and half in the other container. I mean, I know it is really a hodgepodge of plants in this planter, but sometimes that's just life. And I think that's part of the experimentation part of growing things from seed and growing things in containers versus in ground. You're just trying to see what works. And right now, nothing seems to work with my zinnias, at least. Other flowers that I've grown, like the bachelor button, I mean, those have just thrived, I'm hoping that this Coleus will do really well. The hummingbirds love Coleus. I have noticed that. I had it planted in a window box last summer. And by the end of summer, mid-July, going forward into September, I had hummingbirds at my kitchen window, not all the time, but enough, because these do eventually flower. So when they go to flower, I would not, cut those down or anything, because the hummingbirds do like that. It's got that long tubular stem and flower that they're drawn to, that they're attracted to. Some other things I think that hummingbirds like: salvia, I think something called cardinal flower, which I've never grown, but I do have salvia out here, which of course the bees love. So it's always good to plant something in a location that is, opportunistic, where you can benefit from, just observing what's going on. So I think I am actually going to put a little bit more of that plant food in here in this gallon jug and just hit some of the flowers around my garden. I'm thinking maybe the hydrangea cutting that I transplanted recently. I'm not going to touch the salvia, the yarrow, the dianthus, anything like that. But just anything that needs a little bit of a boost here as we go into a couple of days of a potential rain later in the week. This is the first week of June. So My roses have died down a little bit. They have. I'm hoping for another flush of those soon. And, you know, things are starting to take off that thrive in the heat. But like I said, we haven't been super duper hot. So some of this stuff is going to be kind of delayed gratification. But all in all, I mean, everything has stayed alive in these planters. But yeah, I mean, they're not looking super great. I think next time what I would do differently is put some stuff, especially in terms of spillers in the containers. I would get those that are already established, probably from the nursery or something, and then kind of interplant with my seedlings, just so that I, you know, have something to look at right now. I've got to take out what was the Cuban oregano, as much as I would love for it to come back. I mean, it is dead. So I'm gonna have to go to the nursery and see if they have it. Oh, something just sprouted up. I wonder what that is. Interesting. What am I missing here? Something is sprouting up where this lemongrass is. It almost looks like a sunflower or something. Let me show you. Interesting. Whoa, I just noticed a huge, okay, I've got chunks of fertilizer here that did not dissolve. That could be a problem. That could actually probably kill your plants. So I'm just going to take these chunks of little blue, as you can see, and just put those back in here. Glad I caught that. It's electric blue, so I mean, it really does stand out. Whew. Hope everything lives. How could I leave out my cuttings? Of course. My little baby plants need some fertilizing. So, everything's still looking alive. Actually, I don't know how much water they need. This zinnia is just not looking right. Look at that. The bottom leaves are all crisp. It's wet in here. There's something growing in the soil in the bottom, but I gotta get this in the ground, I guess, if I want it to have any chance of looking good, because that's the bloom. Surely that's not what that's supposed to look like. This here, I believe, is Coleus. It's kind of sad. Give that a little hit of some of the plant food. And some of these don't really need to be watered, but I'm just going to go ahead anyway since I'm out here with the plant food. Because who knows when I'll be able to get back out here and do this. I'm sure a lot of you can attest to similar. A lot going on in life at this point in the summer. First week in June is always super busy. I can't even remember what I planted in these because I didn't label them. I know I tried to start some, what was it? Coleus, which I showed you. What else? See, I can't even remember. This is why I need to be more organized and keep track. 527. That must have been from last year. There's a sticker on here that says 527. Not helpful. Oh, it's just so like me. Give this zinnia some plant food as well. Delphinium. So happy about the delphinium. I think I'm going to probably put those in a planta. I don't know what kind of conditions delphinium thrives in. I'm not sure on that. So, anything that I'm going to put out, I'm going to sit here on the chair so I can remember. Zinnias, yeah, these have got to go. These have got to be up potted. They're not meant to be in pots this teeny tiny for very long. I always have to remind myself to hydrate in the garden because a lot of times I forget, and it will trigger a migraine in me if I don't get enough water. So when it comes to my containers right by my front door, that's the first impression I'm making, is that in June, at least in early June and May, it's an experimental hodgepodge of plants in there. So here's a question you have to ask yourself with your container plantings. Are you gardening for yourself or for other people? If we're honest, it's a mix of the two. It's a mix of both. because when you're wanting to put your best foot forward, I would say it may be a good idea to just splurge on some annuals or to put some cooler season flowers in those planters where you can get the most bang for your buck early on in the season, maybe cut them back or just replace them with something else, midsummer that's in full bloom. I mean, if you don't mind the experimental look like I have going on, then hey, more power to you. But I think in hindsight, I would have put some of those plant starts that I was just trying out, right, to see how they do in containers. I probably would have, put that in the side beds or in the backyard because I have plenty of planters in the backyard. So, yeah, knowledge is power. So next season I'll know. Because while I do have the bachelor button that is looking pretty good and the Coleus is not fully formed yet. So I think eventually we'll get there, but right now it's kind of lackluster, and hence why I put the fertilizer on the plants. I'm glad I did that today. I just went ahead and hit everything that I needed to because, it's a day like today where I don't have a lot of other stuff going on where I can actually turn my focus and attention to that. So I'd say just knock out those garden tasks, as much of one particular task as you can on the given day, so that you can, not have to kind of have that on your list ongoing throughout the season. We want to make gardening manageable. We want to make it affordable, manageable, something that you look forward to, not something that always feels like a task. For me, it's relaxing to get out here and do this stuff, but I realize for some people, it may not, have that same effect. But as I'm looking around, I see a lot of green. I see some of my hydrangeas that are giving me some color. The snapdragons, they seem kind of late to me to be blooming in early June. Maybe that's a good timeline on those, but like I said, I think I would start snaps a little bit earlier, transplant those out. I feel like I transplanted them out forever ago. I don't know if it's just like this particular summer and the weather, it being on the wet side for the spring, but the snaps have taken a while to get going. In addition to this sweet peas, which I was so tickled that I actually had germination with those seeds, and that I made my trellis and it's moving along up. But I don't know if I'll have great abundance of blooms on that. I don't know. I just know that they smell fabulous, so it's definitely worth giving a go. The Japanese maple situation, I keep just watching those. It's really about focusing on the long game with those because Japanese maples are an investment. I did buy smaller plants and they are somewhat slower growing, is from what I understand. But B, that's a focal point planting. So do want to make sure that I nurture those properly, do my research, and put them in the right location. They do need shelter from harsh winter winds, as I understand, sun beating down on them, depending on the variety. But I think I bought the Crimson Queen and the Bloodgood, which, are similar in the fact that they have the red foliage. But the Bloodgood can sustain a little bit more sun than the Crimson Queen, from what I understand. I have been deadheading my roses lately, making sure I stay on top of that. I need to be better in the mornings about power hosing my roses down, the foliage, just to keep the pests away, because I know that that's probably the best way, especially underside the leaves, to keep the caterpillars and the larvae and the sawflies, that sort of thing, keep those away, because they have definitely done a little bit of damage, even though I've had nice blooms so far this summer. We're back to a pretty much fully green rose bush out in my front. The yellow blooms, I enjoyed those for a week or two and they're gone pretty much, but I have deadheaded most of those. So I'm hoping for a nice second showing. All right, bye everybody. This video is a little bit shorter today. Probably do a garden tour, in my next one, or maybe a Japanese maple centric video. That's actually, I think, going to be my next one because I do have that one in the hopper. So tune in for that. Keep watching here at Kentucky Garden Girl. And happy planting, everybody. Happy June. We made it through Memorial Day weekend. Feel free to comment below. Tell me what you're doing. Make sure you like and subscribe. Isn't this a gorgeous climbing rose? This is at my mom's house. Absolutely stunning. So I actually have been doing some work on my containers out front since I last recorded this video just a couple of days ago. I decided to go to my local nursery and get what I thought were super petunias. They're actually called Superbells, Calibrachoa. Aren't these gorgeous? This is the double vintage coral from Proven Winners. So my hope is that these little gorgeous little coral flowers will spill over that container, as you can see the edge of it. Also, while I was at my local nursery, I checked out this Eclipse hydrangea. How gorgeous is this? This one is being added to my list of plants I want to add in my garden. I love this.